Hello, welcome to Resistance Live. It's Tuesday, the 15th of October, 2025, 2024. And 3 weeks from today is the United States presidential election. Everybody ready? We're really in for it in the next little run. Okay, so we have to talk about what happened in Pennsylvania last night with Donald Trump. I'm just going to tell you all, this is one of those moments where I don't like being right for a variety of reasons. Okay. And we had some very interesting questions this morning on the Patreon feed about how to react emotionally to what happened last night. So I want to touch on that, but we have all sorts of other good news coming out of the Harris campaign and a very big victory this morning in Georgia, which I'm really excited about. So we're going to get to all that in just a minute. I am ECM, as you all know. I am wearing today for our visually challenged viewers a black turtleneck sweater. My hair is pulled back. I have my thin gold hoops in. I'm a pink-skinned, green-eyed, dirty, blonde-haired woman, and I'm in front of an oak cabinet with a big plant and a stack of books, including my own. And I'm coming to you, as always, from occupied Muncie, Lenape, and Mohican land. Gratitude to the original custodians of the land on which I live and work. Okay, so here's what happened last night in Pennsylvania. And if you have not seen the video clips, you don't have to watch the whole thing, because honestly, it was like 40 full minutes of complete meltdown. I'll leave it up to you to decide whether or not you feel like you have the stomach for it, okay? But the Harris HQ campaign has already put out edited snippets of what happened. All right. So let me just explain to you kind of how this all went down. Trump was on stage at what was supposed to be a town hall hosted by Kristi Noem. And somewhere in there, apparently 2 people fainted in the crowd. Not a big deal. It's happened before. It happens at every Taylor Swift event. I don't know why the media would be using this as an excuse. But after that, the event went completely off the rails. And Kristi Noem kind of appears to be, if you watch the video, almost as though she's trying to manage a toddler. She says to him, well, you wanted us to finish with a song. Would you like me to play that song for you? And he says, what song? And she says, well, you said you wanted a song to end this out. Would you like me to do that? And this is after he's already said he's going to take questions, and then he's not really taking questions. And so they started playing music. And what ended up happening was Trump essentially standing in front of the crowd, bobbing and weaving, and sometimes like he was directing an orchestra, while they played everything from Guns N' Roses to Barbra Streisand to, Luciano Pavarotti and Celine Dion. And it went on for 39 minutes. And he returned at one point to say some very aggressive things about how Democrats are evil. And then eventually in the middle of a song, he just wandered off the stage. Now, I want to just say something, because it is really, I did not, as this was happening live and I was catching the kind of snippets of it as it was going down, I did not react to this with my usual kind of like schadenfreude, right? And I was watching the news media in real time try to handle what was happening. They were calling it like bizarre, right? They were referring to it as strange. But what nobody was talking about was that it was an obvious moment for anybody who's ever known anyone with dementia of total sundowning, right? We have a number of people on the Patreon feed who have worked in memory care facilities or who have been primary caregivers for people with Alzheimer's and dementia. And the continuous rolling out of this music to like keep him entertained, right? While, like people look on, it is very disturbing if you've ever known anybody who has suffered from dementia. Okay. And that, that includes, by the way, the duet that involved Celine Dion included a line like "Time to Say Goodbye." It was very strange in how it all went down. And yet, while there were there's footage of hundreds of people streaming out of the venue as this was going on, there were people who just sat and watched the whole thing like it was totally normal. And the news media this morning, I suppose I have to give kind of begrudging credit to the Washington Post, because they did write about it at least. They didn't go as far as like our own eyes and ears would allow us to go, right? Given what we saw. I woke up this morning thinking about, having looked at very briefly at the news media this morning, feeling like extraordinarily gaslit by the fact that the news media went to a place of not even being willing to report on what we actually saw in like honest and clear language, right? And so it's really disturbing, and it's not, like in some sense, I have to say this. I mean, like I said at the top of the broadcast, I hate being right about this, but I told you all like months ago that he was going to get way, way, way worse as we approached November 5th. And at this point, I have to remind you all, I said this morning on Threads, I don't like to do the whataboutism, but you can be guaranteed that if Biden or Obama or Harris had done something like this on the campaign trail, it would have been mere minutes before the mainstream media was calling for that person to be put in a mental institution, right? We would have 30 breathless articles at the top of the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times about how he should step off the trail and how bad it was for America and all this other stuff, right? So it's, I just continue to be appalled, I guess, by mainstream and legacy media being unwilling to actually talk about it. I know that there are hosts on MSNBC who will dedicate time to it today. But all that said, honestly, we're being very, very let down by the way the media is covering this. And so if you want to go check it out, look at what Kamala HQ pulled together on Threads. And, if you're still on X, God help you. But, if you're on X, you'll find it there also. And Kamala did something very astute with all of this, which was, in addition to that, from her personal account, she reposted that and did a 3-word tweet post, right? Thread that said, "Hope he's okay." Now, that's also very smart because it smacks of pity. It also is going to trigger him beyond compare. I talked this morning about how poking at the original injury that causes someone to become a malignant narcissist is a surefire way to trigger a meltdown. And showing compassion for Donald Trump and treating him with pity re-engages with the original injury of his mother not being unable to take care of him when he was a child and neglecting him, and his father's lack of love. And all of that is going to trigger, like, yet again another moment, right, of just sheer unadulterated rage. So prepare for that. Okay. But I do want to mention one other thing, because there were some questions about this on the Patreon feed. And look, I'm just going to say to everyone, you are entitled to your own emotional experience in relation to this. All right. I'm not going to sit here and tell any of you that you have to have pity or compassion for a fascist. All right. Like, that's the last thing I'm going to do. But I will also just say that you are human if you find it nauseating and upsetting and difficult to watch what happened last night, right? Because he is so plainly not all there. And it's hard to watch people lose their minds in real time. It's hard to watch people be propped up when they are so incompetent that they shouldn't be walking around outside alone, let alone on a public stage in front of thousands of people. It's upsetting, right? It is the kind of thing also where if you have ever had in your lifetime the experience of being gaslit or having people tell you that something's fine when it's not, or someone is fine when they're not, it will also be very upsetting to you. So I'm just going to say this, you need to allow for the full breadth of emotional experience. I personally knew that it was going to get very ugly between now and the election. I actually warned you guys about this 6 months ago, that it was going to be very hard to watch. And it is very hard to watch for people who are humane and haven't lost all of their empathy. And that's true, even though he's a disgusting excuse for a human being who belongs in prison. So, all of that is something to be aware of. And I have to say it again, because I would be remiss and not honest with you all if I didn't. He will get worse. He will get worse. Okay. Just be prepared. It will get worse. All right. Some stuff about Harris, because we have some very good news out of the Harris campaign. Well, I wouldn't necessarily call it good news. I'll just say this. We have some very interesting developments out of the Harris campaign in the last 24 hours. Kamala Harris did a rally last night where she basically put on a closing argument as if she was prosecuting Donald Trump, complete with video of him talking about how he would weaponize the US military against citizens who don't agree with him. This was really compelling. Like, I have to say that as a former trial lawyer, when I saw it, I thought, oh, well, I know what she's doing. We're the jury. Like, we're the jury. And she's making the case, right? But she talked again about, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday as well, about the way that the campaign is starting to reinforce, the issue of his lack of competence, the fact that they're not allowing him to debate her, or he won't debate her, the fact that they're not allowing him to sit down with 60 Minutes, that there are various signs that everybody inside his campaign knows that he's too far gone, all right? And also that he is threatening the American people if he is given back power, like literally threatening people with violence. Like, he's going to call in the National Guard in every state and round up his Democrats. That's where we are right now. So I do really want people to be clear, okay, that the Harris campaign is calling it out. And I'm really glad that they're doing that, all right? And that means that hopefully the mainstream media is going to pick up on it a little bit more because they're covering her, okay? So we'll have to see what happens with that. But the other news is that Harris has agreed to an interview on Fox News. That's going to be tomorrow. Bret Baier will be the interviewer. There could have been worse ones. And I'll just tell you, if you haven't seen Pete Buttigieg and how he deals with Fox News, I think that we are likely to get something very similar when Kamala Harris appears on Fox News. And Trump is pissed about this. Was up in the middle of the night, posting about it, about Fox News on Truth Social, and is clearly very, very upset that they are giving airtime to Kamala Harris. And I have to say that as much as I think that, most people are not undecided at this point, I have to acknowledge that, Fox News is an incredible bubble. All right. And the things that they are there, there's been discussion on Threads and elsewhere over the last couple of days about the fact that there's very clear evidence that they edited an interview, like a gaggle with Donald Trump. For those who don't know what a gaggle is, it's kind of like a kind of unplanned appearance before the press. Like when Kamala Harris hops off Air Force Two and goes over to the press and they ask her questions, that's a gaggle. All right. So there's evidence from Fox News that they essentially edited a gaggle to make him sound coherent. All right. And, they're getting all this full-time stuff about Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, and Aurora, Colorado, allegedly being overrun by Venezuelan gangs and all this garbage. Right. And they're not getting, because Fox has now started cutting away from his rallies when he's losing it. They're not getting the full scope of his decline. So this will be an interesting moment to see what happens, right? And I fully believe that Kamala Harris can handle herself on Fox. I'm not concerned about that one bit, and I don't think you should be either, all right? I do think it's an interesting moment and an interesting choice. Now, I gave you all my opinion on Kamala Harris appearing on Joe Rogan last week. It's very kind of noisy about the fact that we didn't need it, and why would anybody do that? There's a rumor floating around this morning that she's going to do the Joe Rogan's podcast. Okay, great. I said to you guys last week, if she does it, fine. We'll see. I don't really see the reason for it. She's already done Howard Stern. There's a lot of crossover in those audiences. But if she does Rogan, so be it. We'll see how it goes. All right. I will say that I think the appearance on Fox News is going to be far more of a possible landscape altering event than an appearance on Rogan. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. Okay. Huge legal victory in Georgia this morning. All power to Mark Elias. Because this morning a Georgia court ordered that, in fact, the Georgia Board of Elections has only an administrative role in certifying the election results. You all remember that there was sheer panic everywhere over the last few weeks about the fact that there had been this rule put into place by the Georgia Board of Elections that basically they could challenge the election results if they thought there was something not okay, right? They had very specific language about this. There were hearings. Lots of people showed up at those hearings. And when they altered this rule, the first thing I told you all was that it would be challenged in court. Well, lo and behold, yesterday, the rule died. And we got the ruling this morning. And it's so good, right? It's so good. One of the reasons why it's so good is because all the other swing states, the people who are in charge of making sure that the votes are certified are Democrats. Georgia is the only state where the Republicans have been in control of whether or not their election results are going to be certified. And so now we have a court order. Now, granted, this will probably be appealed to the Georgia Court of Appeals. We'll see what happens with that. But we have a court order this morning that says that their role is essentially ministerial, and that their role is to simply say, okay, here's the vote, stamp it, send it off. That's it. So very big deal, very big deal. And I just have to say to all of you, I know there's always a lot of panic when things like this happen. Please take my word for it that we have great lawyers on our side of the fence on the case. None of this is going to go unattacked. Okay. Whatever they pull, our lawyers are ready for it. Okay. So this is very, very good. Also, early voting opened in Georgia today. Already saw photographs of my friend Latasha Brown out doing her early voting. Jimmy Carter voted today. Please vote as early as you can. I cannot emphasize it enough. Between now and November 5th, the earlier that we vote, the easier it is for people who organize the vote and are mobilizing to get out the vote, including all of you who are doing that work. There's so many of you. Somebody on the Patreon feed this morning said that they had hit 500,000 text messages in favor of Harris Walz. Can you imagine? That's amazing. That's amazing. 500,000 people from your couch. This is so good. The earlier that you vote, the earlier your vote is recorded, the faster people who are doing that incredible mobilizing work will be able to focus on people who haven't voted yet. Okay. Such a big deal. Such a big deal. Okay. Georgia ruling is fantastic. Keep the faith. All right. Okay. Somebody asked a question on the Patreon feed this morning about what to do about family members who are saying they're going to vote for Harris Walz up ticket, but they're going to vote for Republicans down ballot. Okay, I think this is a rare circumstance at this point, but I want to address it anyway in case there are other people in the audience who are addressing this, all right, and who are experiencing this in your own families. Voting Republican down ballot is essentially voting for people where you live who will squash your rights, try to make sure that your votes don't count, and impact your daily life in adverse ways at every chance they get. Okay. So let's just say hypothetically your parents have said they're voting for Harris Walz at the top of the ticket, but they're going to vote Republican all the way down. If they don't want their votes to count, if they want Kamala Harris to not be able to do anything in her first term, that's how they should vote. Okay. It's really important to make it very, very clear to people that like the down ballot races matter as much as what is happening at the top of the ticket. Because if we don't take back the House and hold the Senate, a Harris Walz administration is dead in the water. If we don't take back the House, Mike Johnson is going to be in charge of certifying the Electoral College. Can you imagine? Right? I mean, Kamala Harris will have that role as president of the Senate, but he'll decide whether or not it gets to the floor. Okay? We have to take back the House. We have to take back the House. I'm not worried about that one as much, though, as I'm worried about the Senate. Right? Thankfully, there's a poll this weekend that says Sherrod Brown is up in Ohio, but it's like razor thin. Okay. And that's not even including what's happening at the state legislature level. You want people to have the right to seek abortion care? It depends who you elect to your state legislatures and as your attorney general and as the governor of your state. Okay. Local races are incredibly important. All these things go hand in hand. Okay. If you believe that Kamala Harris should be the president of the United States, you have to empower her with the power of the House and the Senate, and you've got to vote for local and state races that will support her administration. Full stop. Full stop. Blue up and down the ballot. That's how I would address that, all right? Like, essentially, you are nullifying a vote for Harris Walz if you vote Republican down ballot. Okay. Couple of other things I have to talk about. One of the things that I want people to just be aware of in terms of where we are right now heading into November 5th is that like everyone is on edge. Okay. Even like, and I'll say this, I'm optimistic and I'm confident right now. Like I definitely like more early voting data is coming out. There was news out of Michigan this morning that women voters and Black women voters in particular are early voting at numbers that are much higher than what we have seen in 2020 and 2022. The early voter turnout numbers continue to be all in our favor. Okay. There's lots of reasons right now to be very optimistic. All right. And, I'm not ready to call a landslide yet. We have 3 weeks to go. We cannot get complacent, all gas, no brakes. Okay. But everybody is on edge right? Because there's so much on the line and so much at stake, okay? So I want to just say one thing here, because there are a couple of things that happened this morning on the Patreon feed where I was like, and this happens sometimes in the comments, and it happens sometimes after the fact in the YouTube comments below. Speaking of which, if you like what I'm doing here, please give me a like, a thumbs up here, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. It's free. You can hit subscribe right down there. One of the things that I want people to do is breathe and take a pause when you think that something has happened that has got you like up in arms. All right. And I've said this a lot about disinformation. I've said this a lot about mainstream media in the last couple of weeks, but we also really need to start applying it personally. All right. Before you jump down someone's throat, like including mine, make sure you're right. Okay. Before you have a moment of feeling personally attacked, take a breath, step back, and ask yourself in the greater picture whether or not that's actually what's happened, okay? Because I'm just going to tell you something. Like, everyone is operating at level 11 right now, right? If you care about America and you care about our democracy and you're on the right side of things this time, like, your whole experience between now and November 5th is going to be like all the way up here, right? And so we need to be kind and patient. We need to give ourselves grace, right? But we also need to try really, really hard to not snap react, okay? Because like I'm telling you already, like even in my own life, people are very on edge right now. And operating with kindness and an assumption of positive intent, particularly in communities like ours, is extremely wise, okay? It's extremely wise. All right. Okay. Couple of quick things. I know many of you have been waiting to see Running for the Mountains, the movie that I was an impact producer on about West Virginia and the downfall of the Democratic Party at the hands of big oil and Joe Manchin, and about Manchin's influence in national politics during the Biden administration. Great news. Fantastic news. I'm very excited. This Sunday, there is going to be a live stream of the film, thanks to the San Francisco Green Festival. And there will be a Q&A immediately after that with the directors that I will be hosting. I am going to drop into the comments right now. The registration link for that is just $10, okay? And it's a good break from your canvassing efforts this weekend. It's going to air at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, Q&A to follow immediately. The film runs about 70 to 75 minutes. And I'm really excited to share this film like with the masses. All right. It is a film about the selling out of the people of West Virginia and the corruption of the Democratic Party in West Virginia and what it means for all of us nationally, because it really does have a national impact. So I'm super excited to see it, for you guys to see it rather. I'm super excited to host. I'm going to post the event here again. I'm super excited to host the Q&A, because I'm going to be the moderator of that. And it will include Babette Hogan and Julie Eisenberg, the directors. It will also include some special guests from West Virginia, including people, a fellow who I can't wait for you to meet, Jesse, who ran for the governorship of West Virginia. He's amazing. I believe Mike Manipenny, who is a state elected in West Virginia, was for many terms, is now running again, will also be present. So it's going to be a really exciting opportunity to talk about the national impact of what's happened in West Virginia and how West Virginia is in many ways a model for attempts to undermine not just like the Democratic Party, but actually like the safety and well-being of Americans by big energy. All right. Like, huge environmental film, really important for everyone to see. So I hope we'll see you all there for that. Final thing I want to say today. Yesterday on the broadcast, we had a discussion about the live comment feed here. Okay. I have to make a distinction here between the live stream comments that float by when you all are watching live and the comments that are below the video after the live stream is over. Okay. Yesterday, we were essentially swarmed by trolls. This has happened multiple times. And, you know, back when I was on Facebook Live and we had like 100,000 people watching some days, this would happen from time to time and it got really ugly. I talked yesterday about with the means that are available for us to manage this. I also talked about the importance to me of protecting my staff from the toxicity of what's in the comments on a regular basis here when we do have those kind of swarm events. And so we are making a decision now, and it is a decision that is fundamentally based in keeping this community safe on YouTube, and also making sure that I am protecting my staff because I do not want to subject them to that toxicity, that the live stream feed only not the comments below the video after it's over, but the live stream comments only will be limited starting Monday to members of this YouTube channel, paid members of this YouTube channel, okay? Subscription is free. The broadcast will remain free. Comments below the video will be open to all after the fact. Only the live stream comments here, live stream comments, okay, will be limited to paid subscribers. Many larger political channels have opted to do this because the content moderation becomes too difficult to manage in real time, all right? So if you want to make sure that you still have the ability to comment on the live stream, okay, if that matters to you and it's a part of your experience of being here for the broadcast, please click join or the $sign below this video, all right? Depending on how you're watching this, if you're watching it on your phone or you're watching it on a desktop or a laptop, you may have to search for that button, okay? But you can become a member here and you will be able to continue commenting here. This is completely different from Patreon. I need to make this very clear, okay? So I'm going to say this all out in extreme detail so you understand it. Over on Patreon, you will be able to ask questions. You will be able to access Progressive Coffee Hour. None of the Patreon benefits are changing, okay? And Patreon remains a private, very safe, well-moderated community for anybody who follows this broadcast, okay? So if you want to ask me questions, you want to join Progressive Coffee Hour every weekend, you want to make sure that you have the ability to, discuss what's happening in real time and get feedback, have me answer in writing. The place to do that will still be on Patreon, okay? And again, subscribing to the YouTube channel is free. Commenting on the broadcast after the fact will remain open to all. The only thing that is going to be affected by this is the live stream comments while the broadcast is live, all right? And those, as of Monday, will be limited to YouTube paid subscribers, okay? So that means that you need to join here if you want to continue to comment live stream. And I'll just say this, all right? You have to decide what's best for you, okay? I trust you all to make the best decisions for you in terms of the experience that you want to have with this broadcast and how you're going to be here. Yes, if you are not a member of this channel, you will still see the comments from paid members in real time. You will not be excluded from it. You just simply won't be able to comment. And the reason why we are doing that, and our subscriptions here on YouTube are exactly the same as they are on Patreon. They're not outrageous, okay? Like, I think it's like $4.99 or $5.99 a month, all right? That, again, I'm going to remind you all, is like less than a quarter a broadcast, okay? Less than 20 cents, all right? So if you want that, feel free. And if you don't, that's awesome, all right? Decide the experience that you want to have. It's really up to you. But I'm going to say something. There will be no trolling on this feed in real time once we move to this, because trolls are not going to be paying me to get on here and make a mess, all right? And if they are, I will happily take their money and block them, all right? But this is what we're doing. That's fine. You can say goodbye, but you also don't have to be a jerk about it. Bye. There's your troll bell. Those of you who love the troll bell will also unfortunately be going away. So please consider what kind of experience you want to have here. And obviously, I will also just say this. I have a whole team behind the scenes that needs to be paid. I also have had the experience before of putting moderators on this channel back when we were on Facebook Live, and it was devastating to the mental health of my staff. I'm just simply not willing to do it. I mean, my staff having to block people using the hard R N-word on a regular basis, right? Threatening to rape and murder me had a very serious impact. And we are now at the point with this broadcast taking off here on YouTube. We're approaching 40,000 subscribers. I would bet money we're going to hit 100,000 by the end of the year, where we have to make some decisions that are key to how this broadcast is going to function and keeping the community safe. All right. I do not get, by the way, for people who are asking, I do not get all of that money from YouTube. That's the other thing you should know. Okay. Paid memberships on YouTube, YouTube takes a very large cut. All right. So this is really just a means for us to be able to make sure that we keep the live stream safe. All right. And again, commenting below will continue to be free and available to everyone after the live stream is over. Subscribing to this channel is still free, just like subscribing to my Substack is free. But if you want to become a paid subscriber there and get some extra bonus stuff, you can do that. All right. So you don't have to unsubscribe. I mean, like, this is the other thing that seems like kind of silly to me. This broadcast will still be free and available to everyone. Please understand it. I'm not going anywhere. You're going to still be able to watch me 5 days a week here on YouTube. Okay. And you can decide what's best for you. And if you want me to still ring the bell from time to time, I'm happy to do that. Okay. You're all amazing. All right. And what really matters to me here is making sure that our audience and my staff is protected and the feed is safe and that all of you are here for what you came for. All right. And you can still hit the like button. You can still subscribe to this channel for free. It's only the live stream comments that are going to require you to be a paid YouTube member. Okay. Thank you so much to all of you. Thank you for all the support that's floating by. I'm grateful to all of you. And, you know, this is the good news. You know, like the greater reach we get, the more we have to make sure we keep everybody safe. I will be here tomorrow. Of course, I will be here this week the entire time. Yes, we can have a TGIF bell. You're hilarious, Nicole. I love that. We'll figure out a way to do it. All right. And you can also gift memberships, by the way. That's the other thing, is you can gift memberships to this channel. So in any event, I will catch you all here live tomorrow. Thank you for your understanding. That whole thing will happen on Monday, and I will see you all then. All right. And I will see you all here tomorrow as well. Again, I have to remind you all, because somebody's saying they're going to unsubscribe. The broadcast is still going to be here and still going to be free. All right. So I will catch you all here tomorrow, if not before. Quick note, please, please, please vote as early as you can. We are now in get out the vote mode. Vote as early as you can. Make sure everybody that you know is voting as early as they can. I said it yesterday. I'm going to say it again. The pivot now is to getting out the vote. Just getting out the vote, getting out the vote. We're done with persuasion. Just get out the vote. All right. More cowbell. I will see you all here soon. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, everybody. Bye.